This segment is sponsored by the Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.
He's a Canadian actor, producer, director, and stuntman who has appeared in over 50 films and television shows worldwide. He's an author. He's been in documentaries. He's got lots going on. And I didn't know, as we welcome Douglas Vermeeren. Sir, welcome. I didn't realize, we've known you a while, I didn't know that you started your career as a young child actor in a CBC after-school special.
Well, you want to know something even funnier? I started before then as an audience member in Calgary on CTV's Buckshot when I was 5. So that's how I really got started.
Wow. Okay.
But you want to hear a funny full circle story?
Sure.
So Ron just passed away, as we know, Ron Barge.
Yeah.
But so I did probably 3 or 4 episodes of Buckshot, admired him and all this stuff. And then years later, they did something called the Calgary Sun's Celebrity Pizza Pig Out.
Okay.
And guess who they gave as my partner to help me navigate the pizzas?
Who?
But Ron Barge, Buckshot. So it was really funny.
I've not heard that name in a lot of years. Boy, showing our age. You know, I got to ask you, and I always like to ask actors this, because all kidding aside, the transition from child actor to what you are now, what we'll call, I think, an adult.
I hope.
Although I've
Some days.
Some days, yes. It's fraught often. It's a challenging journey. Can you talk briefly just about how you went from a child to a successful actor that you are today?
Sure. Well, I think the thing that was interesting is I remember as a kid not really understanding that this was a career or it was something that I could do for a living. In fact, my favorite part of being on set was the jelly-filled donuts at the craft services table, right?
It's still the same here, folks.
And it's still maybe the same.
Yeah.
But it was interesting when I made the deliberate choice to pursue this as a career. That's, I think, when it took on a whole new meaning, and I almost had to relearn everything that I was participating in,
okay.
because I didn't have that perspective yet. I was just kind of like there having fun. I'm still having fun, but now I'm doing it with purpose. And it was interesting that how everything kind of changed, everything from even adding to who I was in terms of like acting lessons and, you know, now taking serious the productions that I would choose. So I would say yes, and even looking at my management and my agents different and things, to making sure I had a good team rather than me just going out having a good time.
It's interesting too, because I've heard directors talk about child actors where they're I don't know if I get the phrase right, but where they're conscious of their acting.
Right.
And that's something that has to be broken.
Right.
Am I right about that?
I would say so too, because when I was doing it before, actually that first CBC After School special, it's funny, it's a show called Mildred McFall. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Okay.
But I was a newspaper boy in it riding my bike. And when they brought me onto the set, I'll ride my bike quick so I can get back to the craft services table, right? Like, so I just did the activities that they'd asked me to do without really considering a camera. And then as now I've been older, considering the characters that I want to portray, I'm not trying to just bring an activity to the camera anymore. I'm trying to bring a full character there, and also something that I feel is a worthy performance, right?
And we should say, speaking of characters you play, you've got so much going on right now. It'd be easier to talk about movies you're not in. And I say that as a compliment. One of the things you're in right now that I'm keen to see is the 6-episode documentary series called Mafia Spies, based on Mafia Spies' inside story of the CIA, gangsters, JFK, and Castro, about killing Castro. Of course, Sinatra will be all over that as well.
And he's in it.
He's in it, yeah. But you've got lots going on, as I said. Unnatural 2. You're playing Lucifer, working with Whitman. And I guess as an actor, you're also a director. You must soak this stuff in. When you can work with directors, writers, other actors, you're a sponge, I would think, right? Because you're always learning.
Yeah, and it's interesting because every director that I've worked with kind of has a different style. Like I loved Mafia Spies, and Mafia Spies is now on Paramount Plus, so people can see it right now. So I was the lead FBI guy on that. But the thing that was interesting is they were really looking to share the historical sort of aspect of how literally the CIA did team up with organized crime to eliminate Fidel Castro. And there were so many things that I didn't know about that to me, I was not only acting in it, but as a student of history, I was learning, and I was being part of such a, let's say, secretive part of American history versus playing Lucifer. That's a little different, right? I mean,
but that's really, I mean, the next thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, I'm looking at what you're doing. I mean, just last year, filming Unnatural 2 in Kentucky, then you head over to Cannes, then you're in the UK.
Right.
You've been around the game a long time. Is it different now than if we're talking in 1995? In terms of being able to act globally in productions around the globe?
Yeah, I think the whole industry has really changed. First of all, I mean, now we've got the streaming services. Streaming services are always looking for content, and so I think just the the filmmakers that they're working with have changed. And then of course, if we look at technology, which has changed the kind of equipment that's available that makes almost anyone a filmmaker. And of course, now we're dealing with all budget ranges, where before you had to have quite a bit of money to make something worthwhile, broadcast worthy. And so the industry's just totally changed. And because that's changed, we're also dealing with experience levels that are different, from directors to actors to even the scripts that we're working with. And sometimes it's neat because you're seeing these people who maybe weren't given a chance that are now producing these incredible productions, right?
Yeah.
And so it's sort of leveled the playing field a little bit. And that's something that I'm super excited about. And then of course, I don't think I would be as busy as I am had there not been so many, like, let's call it filmmakers or players on the field, right? So there's so many opportunities that are now that if somebody wants to do this as a career, I think it's the best time that's ever been in the history of the world.
Listen, I commend everything you do, and you certainly have a lot in your arsenal, which is what you need in this business.
Thank you.
Hey, more information, DouglasVermeeren.com.
Yes.
And you've got a very active website. I thank you for joining us. You're busy as hell, but we appreciate you joining us here today.
Excited to be here.
Cheers.
This segment was sponsored by the Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.